to Introduction to Basic Wheel Throwing. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to throw a ball shape. Now, at the moment I'm just bashing this clay into a circle, so all I'm doing is curving my hands like that and rotating the clay and slapping the clay into a circular shape. You want to use a piece of clay that is about the size of an orange, or fits comfortably in your hands. You don't want to use a piece that's too big, because then it makes it harder, and it's even harder if you use a smaller piece, because then you're not throwing with your hands, you're throwing with your fingers. So there's the clay. The wheel head is dry, my hands are dry, and the clay is dry. That's important because if there's any water on your hands, you get it onto the clay, which goes on the wheel, and when you bash the clay down and switch it on, it slides off. So you want to make sure that everything's dry. And now I'm going to just firmly bash that down into the centre of the wheel. So, the wheel. You want to be sitting close to the wheel as you can. You want to tuck your elbows into your side, or you want to have them down on your legs or onto the wheel, whichever is most comfortable. And I'm going to hold a really tense position. I'm going to be looking directly over the clay. And the wheel, electric wheel, is controlled with the pedal, which is down here. And it's like driving a car. So the process as it goes through, you will start off really fast, and then as the part develops, you will slow the wheel down until the end when it's almost at a crawl, but I will keep reminding you as this goes on. Okay, so clay's stuck down. I'm going to wet my hands. I'm going to wet the clay like that. So there is 3 steps to this. The first stage is called centering, where I'm going to make this wobbly bit of clay into a nice, smooth, even shaped donut. The second stage is called pulling. That's where you pull the walls up. It's a really bad name for it because you don't pull, you kind of squeeze the clay. And then the last stage will be the shaping. Right, so centering. Elbows tucked in. You'll see I regularly just dip my hand into the water to keep the clay wet. I'm going to have my right hand firmly down onto the wheel like that and pressed against the clay. I'm tensing the muscles in my fingers all the way up my arm, and I'm leaning in with my shoulder, my elbows tucked in. And that is going to hold that position. With this hand, I'm going to cup it around the clay like that, but with mainly this part of my hand, I'm going to push down towards the centre of the wheel, and then I'm going to bring my hands round so they're parallel. I'm going to move my thumbs out of the way, and I'm going to squeeze with equal pressure, and the clay, because my hands are flat down in the wheel, my fingers are held together and they're cupped round, the only place the clay can go is up between the gap I've made where my thumbs have moved away. So I'm going to push down, bring my hand round, and then I'm going to squeeze the clay like that. But I'm pushing down, and the clay comes up, and then hand back there, I'm going to just cup my hand over the top and push it back down again into the sort of donut shape. Like that. Now I'm going to repeat that until I have a nice smooth running piece of clay. So, hand back down, elbow tucked in, straining, add some water, press with this part of my hand down towards the centre, bring my hand round and squeeze the clay. And then I'm going to push the clay back down again. Like that. Okay. Now I remember when I was taught this, I was told that you had to do that process of moving the clay up and down 3 times, a minimum of 3 times. So 3 times is the amount of time the clay needs to come. When you push the clay, it comes up through the middle, and then when you push it back down, it goes down the sides, and because you're adding water, it's made the clay more pliable as a whole, and therefore easier to do this technique. Okay, so I have, now I'm going to put both my hands down either side. I'm going to put my thumbs together, and somewhere near the middle, I'm just going to push down, straight down. Might need to add a little bit of water as the clay starts to dry. I'm going to push that down until you don't want to have to then lift your hand up to get any further. So you just want to push your thumbs down until you can't stretch any further there, and that will make a kind of ring donut shape. You don't want to push too far down into the base, because that will squash the bottom off of your pot. That's the base of your pot. And you don't want to not push enough, because you have to have enough clay on the side to squeeze and lift up. Now, you just have to practice this technique to get the feeling for it. You can use little bits of wire, stop the wheel, and push the wire in to see the thickness. The way I know how to do it is I know that my hand is flat down on the wheel there, and my thumb is here. So when I lift my hands up, I can tell by practice that it's about 1 centimetre away from the base. Okay, so we have the ring donut. The next thing we're going to do now is the pull-in. Now, there's different ways to do this. I will show you the way that I've done it, but I would want you to try and find the most comfortable and natural position to do this. So, it's always one hand in the inside and one on the outside. You can either do it with your thumbs on the inside, fingers on the outside like that. It could be this way, it could be this way, it could be that. Whatever feels more comfortable. I do it like this. Left hand, fingers inside, thumb on the outside. I hold a sponge just in this hand, and that helps just to keep the clay soft as I'm squeezing and lifting the wall. Elbows are tucked in, and I'm kind of touching, kind of linking my hands. So at this point I'm going to slow the wheel right down, and I'm just going to press the clay, squeeze my thumb and fingers together, and you'll feel it lift, the clay lift above your fingers, and then I'm just going to very gradually lift the clay. Now I'm kind of squeezing and then holding that position and straining my fingers. As I lift, the clay gets thinner because it's thinning out. You have to squeeze in slightly more and lift and squeeze in slightly more. And you want the clay to do a full rotation before you move up. So you want to do it nice and slowly. As a beginner, when you get to the top, there's a bit of panic. I remember this. So you want to pretend the pot is much higher. So you want to just carry on in that throwing position until you know you're well clear of it, and then take your hands away. Right. So I'm just going to repeat that again. Hands at the bottom, I'm going to squeeze the clay from the base, and I'm just going to lift. To the top like that. Now, because I'm going to make a ball, I'm going to open that shape out. You don't want the top to be too thin, because as it stretches out, it's going to get thinner and thinner, and then it'll get weaker and it'll start to fall. So at the moment, all I'm doing is just squeezing and lifting the clay up. I'm not trying to create a shape just now, I'm just lifting the clay. The ideal pot is the same thickness all the way around. So you want to try and this takes the practice, to try and get an even thickness from base to top. So I'm going to just squeeze it once more. Like that. Okay. Now, the next stage is the shaping. Now you can use the sponge on the inside, you can use your hand on the inside. I have these other tools. This is called a kidney, a metal kidney, because it's kidney shaped, it's made of metal. And this is a rubber kidney, because it's kidney shaped, and made of rubber. You can use these to hold them on the inside and just gently kind of push the clay out. I'm going to start with, use my hand just to do this. So, hand on the inside, and I'm just going to very gradually from the base, you'll see the clay start to push out the way. I'm going to slow the wheel right down, and I'm just going to gently move the clay out. See, I'm just adding a bit more water regularly. Now, I'm just going to do that again. So from the base, I'm just going to very slowly push the shape. Now, I've tilted my head to the side so that I can see the angle that I'm making. So I can see the shape that I'm creating from the outside. Okay, I'm going to use the metal kidney now, and this is just to tidy up the shape. So I'm going to use a sponge on the inside, and I'm going to just use the metal kidney. I'm holding it against the side, and that's just helping to shape part. You can use the rubber one if you like on the inside, and again you just hold that gently against the inside. That, and then the sponge, I'm just going to sponge the top just to take the water off really. You need to make sure that there's no water in the bottom of your pot, so to do that you just take a sponge and you just hold it inside and it soaks up all the water, and squeeze that out. And then the very last thing is just to tidy up the base. So this is a turning tool, we use that for carving into clay. It's got a pointed edge, I'm just going to use that. It makes a horrible scraping noise. I'm just going to use that just to cut into that bottom bit. And then finish with the sponge. Just very lightly holding the sponge over the surface of the pot, like that. Now, the last thing you need to know is how to take it off. Now this is cheese wire, and I'm going to use this, I'm going to slide this underneath the pot. So you hold the wire like that, you hold your fingers either side of it and keep it taut, and I'm going to then just drag the clay, the wire underneath like that. Now you can do this if you're feeling clever with a slight spin of the wheel, like so, and then you squirt the clay and the water underneath like that so it slides under, and I'm going to just repeat this again, and I'm going to drag the wire underneath again, and then with from hands on the bottom with a slight twist, you twist it onto the water, and that means it slides around, and then you have your hand and you slide the pot onto there, and that's your finished bowl. Okay? Right. If you make a mistake, so your pot's on there like that, and you make the wall and it kind of caves in like this, don't try and fix it, because it never really looks very good. Don't try and make it back into a ball and try and start again, because now it's full of air bubbles and that won't help the process of learning. So just put that into the tray, take your fingers, cut the clay off by just pressing your fingers from the middle and pushing your fingers out like that. And then dry your hands, get another block of clay, bash it into a ball, and start the process again. So I was taught that it's either 6 months of practicing every day or 6,000 pots, and you could call yourself a professional thrower. It's up to you to decide. Okay, that's the end of the demonstration.